Hello, my name is Josh and I'm a watchaholic. Welcome to Horology Insanity. What is up, my watch friends? So, check this out. We are going to be looking at this Stella V1 Dress Blues. And if all you're going to do is watch the first 30 seconds of this video, then you should know that this watch is amazing. And if you can get your hands on one and you're comfortable with the price, well then I say go for it. I have almost nothing but good things to say about this watch. So it's funny how that works out. I do have one negative complaint. This crown has no traction whatsoever. It's almost impossible to use it, especially when you got old man hands with a numb thumb, whatever. This crown is not good. So there's my negative. If you want to get that out of the way, we'll talk more about it later. Now, let me go ahead and just talk about the specs of the watch, the size of the watch, all the cases. They have several different variants. I've tried to roll in pictures here of all the different variants they have. I think they're all about the same price, but let's do some quick measurements. They say 40, I got 40.1, so they're accurate on that. They say a 48 lug to lug, and I am hitting at 47.5, and they say 13.6 thick, and I got 13.3. Now, I want to talk about the thickness real quick because this does not wear as thick as the 13.3 or 13.6 measurement tells you. You will notice that it's got this beautiful kind of raised or domed step side sapphire crystal, which does add a little bit to the height, but I like it. I like the distortion effect that gives you, the play. I like the overall aesthetic, so I don't mind that for the height. But one of the things I've noticed they've done here, and I have another watch I'll show you in a second, look at how they have half of the movement kind of sitting under the base of the watch. They've got lugs that have this wonderful turn down feature. And when you put this on, it really only feels like you're wearing this upper half here. So you'll notice they even tried to affect this by this section right here being black. But when you put this on, it really feels like a 10 millimeter watch because this part down here kind of sinks into your wrist and it just doesn't wear big. And it's wonderful. It's a wonderful case design. I think more watchmakers need to pick it up because here is another one who does that. This is the Zarek Trappist. This is the NASA watch. They did a very, very, very successful Kickstarter. I got in on that. This is one of the quartz ones. This is specifically the ISS edition for the International Space Station, and it's on one of the greatest straps that I've ever experienced, right? I don't know why I love the strap so much, but I do. I love this entire watch. Here's what's funny, and I'm going to poke fun at them. They say it's 11 mil plus 4 for the crystal, because you see it's got this giant dome crystal. So they're saying it's 15. When I measure it, it's actually closer to 16, right? And so let's take 16 mil. This 16 mil wears like a 12 mil because this whole undersection here, it's got kind of a UFO case shape to it. But this whole undersection here sits into your wrist, and you really feel like you're only wearing that half of it right there because of the way the case design is and the way these lugs turn down. So some people, I think, were a little bit scared of this watch and the height. I know Jody did a fantastic video when this came out, but he too even said, hey, it's a big watch, right? And I think it's like 42 across, 43 across. So it's a big watch, but it really doesn't wear as big as it says. And the Stella's the exact same way. And so watch manufacturers, micro brands, please start doing this. It's one thing to make a thick watch because sometimes you have to. Now, I will say sometimes I think there's a trend going on in the industry and we all want thinner watches. We all want thinner watches because we don't want these 15, 20 mil watches that are sitting above our thing. I know that there was a period of time where, oh, but my watch is 18 million meters of water resistance, and because of that, it's got to sit like a brick on my wrist. I know there was a time for that. It was fun, right? And some cool watches came out of it. But no, we all want thinner watches now. And if you can't make the watch thinner and still meet some of the specs you need, then this case design might be a good option for you to make it not wear as big as the measurements say. So anyway, that's probably my biggest lesson learned with these watches. They wear so well because of that design. All right, now you got 20 mil in the lug width here, so all of your standard straps are going to fit, but this leather one is actually pretty fantastic. I would wear it on this and just keep it on this. probably wouldn't change it out that much because this one's kind of a perfect fit. The stitching kind of matches the Lume color. And so it's not quite a vintage Lume, but it is not necessarily just a white. It's kind of an off-white. They do offer a medium and a long leather strap. And I believe this is the long one here, and which is awesome because it's kind of like the Laco and some of those other brands where they actually, like for my 8-inch wrist, I have a little bit of leftover to put in a keeper. I was about there, maybe one less on this when I wore it. And so if you have a smaller wrist, you do have an option to get the small medium leather bracelet so you don't have as much overlap. But for us big wrist folks, we can wear this and enjoy it. All right, it's double dome sapphire crystal, 3 layers of undercoated AR. It does have sapphire on the case back as well. And since we've got this thing flipped across, I think I told you earlier, 100 meters water resistant, screw down crown. You'll see it does have some writing on it. STP 111, I had to look that up. It does have the Swiss made thing for people who care about that, and then sapphire, and that's noting both sapphire on the front and on the back. It has this cool, you see the star pattern is kind of their theme. They've got it all over everything. But underneath this sits the STP 111 movement. Now, I at first saw that and thought that that meant it was a seagull movement. And I was very, very, very much mistaken. Now, that's not to say there's anything wrong with seagull movements. Yeah, they're debatable. Some people like more than others. I've heard some people say that if it's a daily wear, like if the hand wind chronograph, the ST, I don't know, 1901 or something, if you put it on a daily wear, you'll start to notice time variances kind of lapsing and whatnot. You'll notice issues after about 6 months to a year. And so a lot of micro brands kind of shy away from it because they don't want to have to warranty those problems later down the road. But in this case, STP is not Seagull. It is its own brand located in the Italian speaking region of Mano, Switzerland. And this STP 111 movement is the automatic. It's basically their direct copy of the ETA 2824-2. So this is a similar movement since ETAs are becoming so difficult to get because Swatch Group said they're not going to release them or only use them for in-house projects. People are trying to get the Solitas if possible, but that's putting an overall kind of higher demand on the market than what's available. Prices, of course, as a result are rising. So STP steps in and says, hey, I can make a direct copy of that thing, the ETA 2824-2 movement, and let's get to work. And now you start to see more and more brands putting that in their watches. A lot of people are using the Miyota 9000 series movement, which is good, but I still don't think it's quite the same. I think that this might be, maybe a little bit better movement, but we've got to see over time. So that was one of the big things I wanted to talk about on this watch. The last thing really is this dial, because it's all about the dial. And this has a fantastic texture to it. Now, again, they call it dress blues. They call this a denim dial. It's a blue linen texture. And it's basically a crosshatch. And it is absolutely stunning in different lights. Now, you can see here when I get it not in direct light, it looks almost black, right? When I put it in light, you see the bright blue and you see the striations. And so it's almost a little playful, depending on what light you have hitting it and when. Now, we'll also cut the lights off here in a second. Check out the lume shot. It does have a mix of C3 and C1 superluminova, it says. So give me 1 second here and let's hit that. Let me zoom out a little bit. So I am filming during the day like normal, and I do have all of the curtains and shade drawn, and you can see that the lume application on it is good. It's not great. It's not Seiko Diver or Zelos good, but y'all know that Seiko Divers and Zelos have some of the best lume application anywhere in the world. Now, I also haven't charged this with a light, so let's see if that gives it any help. Let's hit it with a little UV. You can see that both the Arabics, the indices, and at the 12, 3, 6, and 9 are all loomed up, and then the hands are loomed, including the little pips on the second hand. And with the charge, now that's glowing a little bit better. I would say this, it is a clean Lume shot. Like if you're a Lume junkie, this isn't going to do it for you. But if you just want to be able to tell the time, you're going to have no problems. Let me turn the Lume back on. So those are the cons. If we're going to talk about the cons, Lume is right. It's okay. It's not great. The crown, again, it does have a screw down crown, and that's what makes me so annoyed with this. The screw down crown, you got to back it out, but then like there is no traction at all to this crown. Let me zoom in on that real quick. I mean, it's got the cool star logo on it, and it looks like it would have, you see this little bit of knurling right there. It looks like it would give you traction. It doesn't. It legit doesn't. Like my hands just slide right over it. Oh, look at that. I'm in the date position. But so there's one for the date, two for the time. But the movement, the accuracy, and the play that the movement has, or the lack of play, I guess I should say, the cleanness of manipulating the movement is as good as all of my Eddas and Selenas, right? So I would make that comparable. But yeah, this crown, when you go to, if you try to give it a little wind, or what I found the worst is when you try to screw it back in. And you know, I always give it a half back turn to help catch the threads. Oh, there's the threads, and then you can screw it in. But considering that it tries to wind the mechanism and catch the threads, and then tighten this down with almost no traction, right? That's my biggest con. So there it is. The last con, of course, we're going to talk about before we wrap this out is the price. This watch is currently $1,185. It's almost $1,200 bucks. As nice as this watch is, I don't think it's a $1,200 watch. I think that they're getting you for the Swiss made. I think that they're getting you maybe for the design, which is fantastic. And I'm willing to pay a premium for a design, but not like that. I don't think this is a $1,200 watch. Now, you could differ. You could think this is a $1,200 watch all day long. I don't. The fit and finish on it is pretty good, but I can get watches with comparable specs, especially in the micro brand space, for, man, half of that, if not in the $800 to $1,000 range on the secondary market. Or if you can get a coupon code and you can get one of these at like 60 to 70% of MSRP, basically meaning 30-40% off, then it becomes a proper value proposition in my estimation. Again, all of this is my estimation. I think this is a $700 watch, maybe $800 watch. I don't think it's a $1,200 watch. But again, I'm kind of cheap and frugal. So, hey, you know, there's that. But with that one, we're going to call this a wraps. Thanks. I know this was a little bit long, but there was so much I wanted to cover. And because this is such a fantastic watch, again, despite the value proposition, I did want to cover it all. I mean, this really is an amazing, amazing watch. I think anybody who gets one of these is going to love it. I really do. And if you don't balk at all at the $1,200 price tag, then I would say jump all over this, because the design it's fantastic. All right, check back in the next video, because I've got a whole slew of watches over here to my left that I'm going to be comparing this watch to that I think might be better value propositions, or I can at least do some side-by-side comparisons on the fit and finish, the quality, so that you can see, okay, what do they look like side by side? What might some of my other options be? And that'll be coming up next. So till we talk again, my friends, please remember what really matters, and that's not watches. Keep the insanity sane.